So a pro-Palestinian called Mahmoud Khalil, right, just got arrested by ICE. Why? Because he negotiated a protest. And now I am going to say this. This is also a reminder to my people that do not let your child go out there to protest. If you are a migrant, they will deport you back to your country. If you are a legal citizen, you will be expelled from school. So this young man, his house was invaded. They whisked him away. I heard the wife is pregnant, 8 months thereabout, and they are planning on deporting him. He is legal in United States. He has his green card. He also has his visa, but they are telling him that they are revoking it. This administration said what, like most of the things they are doing are the things they said. Now I am going to ask Mahmoud, who did you vote for? Third party or Donald Trump? Because we need to know. Now, majority of these people do not even understand what is going on because they refuse to listen to people that look like me. And I am hearing people saying, if you are not rendering your voice, it means it is okay for this to happen to Mahmoud, but you start crying when it happens to you. I hope you are not trying to shade my own people because last I checked, we told everybody all these things that they are going to happen and they are happening straight up. Black people are facing through slow, they are going through slow genocide. And please leave us out of this. Let's get into this video.
So we are following the disturbing story about the Trump administration's arrest of Mahmoud Khalil. He is the pro-Palestinian activist who helped organize the protests at Columbia University. The more we find out about the story, the more it appears that Khalil is a political prisoner of Trump's regime. I think this tweet sums up what happened best. Just to recap, ICE arrests a student activist, then realizes he is not on a visa but on a green card, takes him anyway, saying his green card is being revoked, holds him incommunicado. Then the Secretary of State announces that green card holders will be deported too. Similarly, the Senate Judiciary Democrats wrote the following. ICE just detained a lawful permanent resident and a recent grad student in the middle of the night because Mahmoud exercised his First Amendment rights in a way Donald Trump did not like. Straight up authoritarianism. And Trump and his administration are spiking the football and celebrating this illegal action in the most despicable way imaginable. The White House tweeting, Shalom Mahmoud. ICE proudly apprehended and detained Mahmoud Khalil, a radical foreign pro-Hamas student on the campus of Columbia University. This is the first arrest of many to come, President Donald J. Trump. And you can see the White House made this graphic right here, accusing him of being aligned with Hamas, and that Trump wrote this post about him over here. As Joshua Reed, equal of Project Liberal, writes, Mahmoud Khalil is not an illegal alien. He is not a terrorist. He's a Columbia graduate student and a legal U.S. resident. He's a husband and his wife, a U.S. citizen, 8 months pregnant, has no idea where he is. The Department of Homeland Security snatched him off campus, disappeared him without a trace, no charges, no trial, just gone. This is how authoritarian regimes operate. It's what happens when the First Amendment only applies to the right kind of people. It's only a trial balloon for a broader crackdown on speech. If they could do it to Khalil, they could do it to you. The ACLU is out with the following statement saying the federal government is claiming the authority to deport people with deep ties to the U.S. and revoke their green cards for advocating positions that the government opposes. Listen, regardless of where you stand on these issues, it is fundamentally un-American for a U.S. president to arrest and try to deport somebody who is here legally with a green card because they're saying things that the administration does not agree with. Mahmoud was reportedly transferred to a prison in Louisiana, and protests have already broken out in New York.
Y'all had no plan, and we tried to tell you that he was going to do this. He told you he was going to do this, and you still attacked the black lady who called for a ceasefire. Donald Trump told you he was going to do this before Election Day. And y'all still voted third party, didn't vote, or voted for Donald Trump. Y'all got a plan to help him? Y'all probably don't have a plan.
Over the weekend, Mahmoud Khalil, a student Palestinian activist, was illegally detained by the Department of Homeland Security. Mahmoud Khalil is a green card holder, but by claiming that he was supporting terrorism, the United States government was essentially able to disappear him. This comes after a coordinated harassment and punishment campaign led by Columbia University staff and alumni. If a green card holder can be disappeared from society for supporting terrorism, so can a U.S. citizen. And while right now they're focused on Palestine, I remember a time when BLM was viewed as terrorists, or anti-fascists were viewed as terrorists. And let me just make it clear what has happened so that people truly understand the stakes here. A group chat full of random right-wing nutjobs led a coordinated harassment campaign that resulted in the illegal detention of a non-violent student activist. Trump is emboldening his supporters to be the police and surveillance state, and this is just the beginning. I think it's really important that people pay attention to who is talking about this and who is not, because this is a brazen act of authoritarianism, and anyone serious about resisting fascism in the coming years should be drawing attention to it. On top of all of this, in Gaza, all of their aid has been cut off. All of their electricity has been cut off, and on Saturday, a fire broke out in a food storage facility. If you're as angry about this blatant First Amendment violation as I am, there's an action that you can take in my link tree, but it is so important that we continue to talk about what is going on and that we continue to fight back in whatever ways that we can. Activism has become a lot more dangerous, so it's time for the most privileged among us to use that privilege to fight back.
Zionist students at Columbia University finally got what they wanted. They got a legal resident of the United States to be detained by ICE, to be deported because he was supporting a terrorist group. You know what I'm talking about, because those names cannot be mentioned here because then the video is going to be censored. And the worst thing about this is that they claim that this is to protect themselves when in reality they are okay with the Trump administration treating people like him the same way that their people were being treated in Germany in the 1930s. Because he is a legal resident, he has a green card, and right now the Trump administration is revoking it just because he was rightfully protesting a genocide happening in Gaza. Right now, you are celebrating the same type of actions that were taken in 1930s against your people. Legal residents are being detained, taken against their will without any charges against them, with no warrant, hidden from their families in order to be deported. And if you're supporting this, that means that you were okay with the Holocaust as long as it was not against your own people. This means that you are okay with governments doing these things to other people as long as it's not your people. Your hatred doesn't let you see past your nose. You have become exactly what you have hated all along.
Vote for Donald Trump, but do not give a vote to Kamala Harris.
Maya and them to the front, because y'all need to be reminded of the damage that your vote did to all of us.
Developing story on the campus of Columbia University. A student connected to pro-Palestinian protests last year has been detained by ICE. This comes on the heels of President Trump announcing the university will be stripped of federal funds.
Late last night, Mahmoud Khalil, the chief negotiator for the Columbia student protest in support of Palestine, was detained by ICE without a warrant. Khalil, who was initially in the U.S. on a student visa, has since obtained a green card and is legally residing in the U.S. He is married to a U.S. citizen, and his wife is 8 months pregnant. ICE agents reportedly ambushed Khalil and his wife as they entered their apartment building, pushing their way in and threatening to detain his wife if she interfered. They then arrested Khalil without a warrant. His lawyer called ICE and asked them for a warrant. They hung up on her. Since then, Khalil has disappeared. ICE first told his wife he was being held in Elizabeth, New Jersey, but when she arrived, he was nowhere to be found. Due to public outrage, Senator Marco Rubio and the State Department made statements suggesting they intend to revoke the green cards of protesters deemed inappropriate by the U.S. government, something they have no legal authority to do. Only a judge can revoke a green card, and ICE does not have the power to unilaterally strip legal residents of their status for exercising free speech. This is a test. This is a test to see how far they can push the boundaries of repression. They deliberately targeted someone controversial to gauge public reaction. If ICE can unlawfully detain a legal resident with a green card for protesting, they can do it to any one of us. This is a blatant violation of the First Amendment, immigration law, human rights protections. It's a violation of the UN Charter on Human Rights. If left unchallenged, it opens the door for the government to silence anyone it deems inconvenient. An update for Khalil is that thankfully a federal judge has blocked the Trump administration from deporting Khalil. This puts all of us protesters at risk, whether we're indigenous or whether we're green card holders, because if they can illegally abduct Khalil and make him disappear, then they can do it to any one of us, and they will, as long as we let them get away with it.
Here's why we all need to be really concerned about what just happened to Mahmoud, the Columbia student who was kidnapped by DHS over the weekend. First, here's some background. Students are almost always on the front lines of anti-authoritarian movements. And that's because higher education institutions are ultimately governments that mirror your local government, your federal government, etc. Because they mirror in composition, it means that they're prone to the same impulses of complicity. In 2023 and 2024, student encampments popped up at universities and colleges all over the country. And these were watershed moments, not only because of the contagious fire of consciousness that it lit throughout the entire country, and the world, I should say, but also because the response from university admin told us everything we needed to know about how we were going to get to this moment right here. When CUNY and Columbia, both in New York City, called in militarized police to remove the student encampments, we were seeing firsthand that the attacks on our First Amendment rights were coming from inside the house. So one could say that the seeds of authoritarianism were sown well before Trump took office for the second time. So for the last year and some change, universities have been the sites of some really violent repression. Consciousness and repression exist on a seesaw. Where there's increased consciousness, there will be increased repression. Trump and the Trump administration want to make an example of Mahmoud. And it's not just a warning to college students. If we agree that universities mimic the composition of governments, then you can see that the precedent for this moment was set in 2023. So 2023 told us that 2025 was coming. And 2025 is trying to tell us that something else is coming. And it's not just going to be the repression of student voices, even though students will, of course, remain on the front lines of any anti-authoritarian movement. This is a warning to all of us. These values that we understand to be core American values have always been at risk for pollution. They've always been vulnerable. And when ICE arrests a pro-Palestinian activist who was on the front line of Columbia's encampment work, a student activist with a green card, this should tell us everything we need to know about the nullification of the rule of law.
Mahmoud Khalil was kidnapped by the United States government over the weekend. Here's everything you need to know. Mahmoud was detained late Saturday night, the 8th, in his apartment where he was with his wife. His wife is a United States citizen. She is currently 8 months pregnant. Mahmoud is a grad student from Columbia University. He is not in the United States on a visa, on a student visa. He is in the United States on a green card. He has permanent residency in the United States. All that shit you hear about, go through the proper process. He did. He proper processed so well and went to a fucking Ivy League. That's that, you know, when Donald talks about, like, you know, we just want to be able to pick and choose who's able to be a migrant here, and we want the best of the best. I'd say he's a pretty good fucking example of that. He was active in the protests on Columbia's campus, protesting the Israeli government. This is something that Mahmoud knows intimately, as Mahmoud, who's a Palestinian, was born in a refugee camp in Syria, not in his home country, because, once again, he has very intimate knowledge of the way in which the Israeli government oppresses Palestinian people. He's known it his whole fucking life based on the fact that he was born in a camp. So when ICE showed up to the apartment, to arrest him. It was, they said, we're arresting you and your visa is no longer, a thing. We're revoking your visa. At which point he said, I have a green card. I'm a resident of the United States. They said, oh, well, then we're going to revoke that. His wife called the attorney. The attorney asks, what is he being arrested for? What charges do you have? Where's the warrant? No answer. So there's a strong chance that there was no warrant. He isn't being charged with shit. But he was detained. His wife was told he is going to be held in a ICE detention center in New Jersey. She goes to the detention center in New Jersey yesterday, and he's not there. They said, no, just kidding. He's actually, now we send him to Louisiana in a detention center there. However, now there's no record of where the fuck he is. He's been disappeared by the government, kidnapped. His wife, 8 months pregnant. He is a green.
This is all I got from this video. We've been told you people, black people told you people about all these things. Black people told you people why there is need to avoid some certain things, because everything you are seeing were the things black people want you all from not doing. And they are all happening. Now, let me start by saying this. I remember that a few days ago, it's not up to 2 days, I brought a video. I brought a video where Donald Trump talked about how if you are a migrant in America, students, right, and they see you on the street protesting, that they are sending you back. I even had to use Nigerian, Ghanaian, and other African and other Asian countries as example, how you will be deported straight up. And if you end up being a US citizen, right, it means that, and you are a student, you will be expelled from the school completely. So I tried calling my people's attention to it. So you all will really be very careful of what your children are doing. And also sometimes there are some news that you all do not even get to see. But people that are in media get to see it better, right? That's why I was calling everybody's attention. So you all will know what to tell your kids, your nephew, your niece, like all of it. Now, for those people that are trying to shade whoever they are trying to shade, that if it is okay, if it is not, if it is being done to other people, but it is not okay when they do it to you, you can talk to the hand, talk to my hand. You hear what I said? See, you all do not know what you all signed up for, but I am sure they are all playing out. And I am going to ask, who did Mahmoud vote for? Who did he vote for? Whoever he voted for will also determine what to tell him. Because at this point in time, I do not know what to tell him. All these things that are going on are things that should have been avoided. Well, you all said no, that you all are going to punish people that look like me. But it looks like that thing that you said were going to happen is like, there is a reverse in it. Some of you all don't listen. Because when people that have lived that experience are talking to you, you already better listen. Some of you all started talking on media yesterday, including me. I don't care it's been how many years, but I started yesterday. So when people that have lived that experience, that have experienced things, that have lived their life, when they are speaking, they are called OGs. Listen, you are going to learn one or two. You are probably 25 years or 26 years, right? And some people have lived this life, they have been in this situation all their life. They have lived all this life, right? And you don't want to listen to them because you think you went to Ivy League or you went to Harvard or you went, and for that reason, you are smart or you are intelligent enough, man. There is difference between capital B. You see what capital B and cow leg. You know, cow leg and B look alike if they write them or they draw them. but the difference is absolutely clear. It is someone's experience. Someone's experience is what you are going to school to study. Are you going to listen to the person that got the experience, or you are going to listen to that teacher that also learned from someone, probably did not learn it directly from the person with the experience? You all think you're smart. Man, see, being smart is the ability to navigate some certain things and know, man, I have to run through it to get this thing. Or you have to remain whoever you are and not learn or gain anything. That is how it is. When we talk about being smart and intelligent, sometimes it's not about book, right? It is about the things you are able to navigate with some certain things that every other person will not be able to navigate. How you see far and how you are able to know that, man, I don't think I know this thing so well. So I have to corner Margaret to get that from her, to get the real experience from her. You already be doing so much. I am not the best when it comes to baking, right? But my best friend is very good. Instead of me to learn from her first and make something straight up from scratch, and I started reading the book. I haven't even gone to the school, right? I didn't go to culinary school, and I had to pull up the book. And you are seeing 1.5 cup, and you don't know how to mix it. And someone that will teach you how you can mix it and turn it and put everything and start cutting what you are supposed to is right there. And I choose to go through the book. I don't know how to explain this, but you see this administration is going to show so many people some certain things. And it is time you all start learning. And I hope you all are not shedding anybody to come out and speak for you, because we have so many things that is going on in our community. And we are not calling anybody to speak for you. So, cool. Bye for now.